just clicked. Good morning, everyone. It's
Good
6
morning,
a.m.
everyone.
6 a.m. on the 11th of February. Today, one of my best friends' birthday today, 66. Happy birthday, Titito. I'll send
Happy
him a
birthday. And everyone's birthday today. And I like the month birthday months, but let's see.
In 4 days is my birthday.
What's that?
4 days is my birthday.
In
6 days is Julio's birthday. Please put in the chat where you're watching from.
We got
and hashtag KMT for a KMT hat. And by the way, yesterday I offered on the live stream a Dr. Nelson hat, and I ran the tool after the live stream ended, so you guys don't know. But Brian Dish 1787 was the winner. You need to email Alia at drkiltz.com to claim your prize, okay? And we'll give a KMT hat today, hashtag KMT. And the guests today is Dr. Kiltz and Dr.
Nelson. Right. And I put a link in the chat to anyone wants to join us. I see George is here. Papa, let's see, Paul Clark, The Kingdom Way, Laney, let's see, Kitchen Witch. Rick is here. Mr. Rick is here. Paul Clark, I think I mentioned. Carnivore Karen. P is here. DJ. I'm hoping to get everyone really. Lewis is here. Really grateful. There's Max.
Okay. We thought you were not coming.
We are on with the master, the meat master, Kiltz himself.
Well, Max, welcome. We got a whole team of great conversations. And what does the painting say back there?
Can you see what it says?
Well, it's a little hard. You're conscious.
What is it? Your comfort zone will kill you.
Yes. But you know what? He has a way of always making comfort just uncomfortable. Because if you think about it, if you just lay around long enough, those little spots that felt good before will hurt again.
Absolutely. You gotta, when I saw that painting, I was like, you know what? One of the ways I can hold myself accountable to do all the things that I want to do is I hang that little saying above my head, and I've got to look at it every single day. And so that's why I got it.
Nice. So any other openings, Dr. Nelson, before we get started with the show? The morning. This is the morning show. I don't know anyone else who does a daily morning show in the carnivore world.
So two announcements. Number one, just a reminder, put your questions in the chat. We're going to be talking to Max in a minute here. And there is no class today in the coaching course. We're going to do it next week at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's a wrap-up session with Alia and the team. And the course, otherwise, I think it's live already. You can click. When you buy the course, you can do it on your own, and we'll see how that works out. We will still be doing weekly sessions, just Q&As about the lessons in the course, okay? All right. So, Max, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us who you are, tell us your story of healing, and
all right.
Are you vegan?
I'm definitely not vegan.
Do you eat vegans?
I eat vegans for breakfast. That's right. That's what I do. So my name is Max. Nice to meet everybody. So I host a podcast called the Low Carb Consultant Podcast, where I interview experts, doctors, trainers, athletes, coaches, authors that are in these different low carb, ketogenic, carnivore sects, if you will, to get a good understanding of, what diets are best for longevity, athletic performance, healing, all these different things. And over time, I have developed this theory that diets are tools. We leverage different low carb variations, ketogenic variations, carnivore variations for different things, right? You've got high fat carnivore for a lot of healing purposes, and you've got maybe a higher protein version of carnivore for athletic performance, body composition purposes. And so I interview a bunch of these different experts in these different arenas to get their thoughts, ideas, perspectives on what they feel is the best diet for them. And so that's what I do. The podcast, again, is called the Low Carb Consultant Podcast. It's on, Spotify and Apple and YouTube and all the places. In terms of my journey, I have to go back and I'll do it as briefly as I can so we can get to questions or whatever, questions the guests have or you guys might have. For me personally, my journey started off when I was a little kid. So I was diagnosed with ADD and ADHD when I was in the first grade. So the doctor put me on Ritalin when I was in the first grade. And I took Ritalin and a combination of Adderall all the way up until I was about 29 years old. So I was medicated every single day on essentially a methamphetamine. I was medicated every single day until I was about 30 years old. And one of the reasons why it took it so long was because I was diagnosed by a doctor early in life, and I had this thought process in my mind, like I was broken or I needed it, right? And I always say when I say that, if only I knew about low carb or ketogenic diets early on before, I could have probably weaned myself off of Ritalin and Adderall early on. Around the same time I was diagnosed with Adderall, my parents were going through a little bit of a nasty divorce. So there was a lot of tension in the household. And because of that, my parents wanted me to have, as my dad moved out, my parents were trying to give me the most normal life they possibly could. So a lot of that kind of revolved around food. So anytime I wanted to go McDonald's or get pizza or have a snack, one of their ways that they would essentially comfort me in a sense was through food. And going back to the Adderall thing and the food thing, this was back in the 90s. A doctor said that I had ADD and I need to go on this medication. My mom didn't know any better. Like if a doctor told you needed to go on rat poison in the early 90s, you'd probably be like, well, okay. You kind of just took their advice and went with it. But what happened to me was as I started to hit like development stages in life, like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I started what happened was my body was changing. The Adderall was wearing off because, as you're growing and developing, you're putting on weight, the dosage wears off. And what was happening was I was going on these binge eating episodes around the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And, if you go to my Instagram, I'm like a very active person. When I was a little kid, I played every sport imaginable, like basketball, football, baseball, ice hockey. I swam, I surfed, I skateboarded. I did every sport you can imagine. What was happening was because of the medication was wearing off around the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I was starting to put on weight. And all of a sudden, by the time I got to the 8th grade, I essentially found myself being the fat kid in the friend group. And I also was dealing with a lot of inflammation issues because I was putting on weight. I couldn't run anymore. I wasn't able to play sports. I was getting kind of lethargic and lazy and lackadaisical. And my mom did the best thing that she ever did for me was she was like, okay, your diet's bad, you're overweight. When you get to high school, you're going to play sports. So when I became a freshman in high school, I joined the water polo team. I started working out. And that's when the light bulb around health and fitness for me really flipped on, because this kid that was in like the 7th and 8th grade that was fat, the girls were making fun of me. I had, you know, the man boobs as a 7th and 8th grader. All of a sudden, I was the in shape, tan, water polo guy, and girls were starting to notice me. And that might sound kind of funny, but I started to realize, like, oh, wow, you know, the opposite sex pays attention when you start to care about what you eat, what you put in your body, how you take care of yourself, and how you work out. And that was the light bulb for me that kind of sent me on my health and wellness journey. And so I worked out all the way through high school and college, and I ended up opening up a gym in Las Vegas called Sin City CrossFit. So I owned a CrossFit gym where I trained, you know, elite high school athletes all the way up until all the way up to, you know, 70 to 80-year-old women and men. And so I gained this experience from training different people. I wasn't really in tune with my diet at the time. This is when I was in my mid to early 20s. I ate a paleo diet because paleo was big in the CrossFit world at the time. But that's where I really gained a lot of experience training clients, helping clients with exercise. And then we were shifting people to a paleo diet at the time because that's what was popular. But what happened to me again was I had an opportunity to go into the corporate world. Like tech was getting bigger. I had a bunch of friends that were working at Uber. I had the opportunity to get into the tech world. So I got into the tech world, but what happened was I ended up selling my position in the gym, moved to San Diego, got into big tech. And then what happened was I got into some bad habits. So I started going out after work. I started having beers with the colleagues. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't eating the way I normally ate. And what happened was I got fat again, right? And I got horrific inflammation issues. And by the time it was like 2018, I lost sight of myself. I put on so much weight. I had so many issues that I just had this moment that happened to me. I was like, I used to be the in shape gym owner. I used to be the guy that everyone came to for advice. Now I'm the fat guy because when you go into a corporate world, and then I ended up getting married and had a couple kids, you know, your life changes a little bit, your priorities change. And so I kind of lost sight of myself. But what happened was I also lost sight of my health and my fitness and my body. And in 2018, I made a vow to myself to say, okay, I'm going to go on a journey. I'm going to reclaim my health. I'm going to reclaim my body, get it back. And that's when I started listening to podcasts, doing my research. And that's when I started experimenting with a lot of these low carb diet variations, ketogenic diets, carnivore diets, fasting, intermittent fasting. And I was able to completely change my body composition. But the wildest thing, we can talk about this, and maybe I can pause here if you guys have any questions. The wildest thing in 2018, what I noticed, going back to that kid that was diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, that was put on Ritalin, you know, when he was in the 1st grade, what I noticed the biggest when I cut out processed food and I went on like low carb diets, ketogenic diet variations, what happened was it started to open up parts of my brain that I never had access to. Being in a ketogenic state of mind opened up my brain to where I was like, dude, if I would have known about these diet variations in carnivore when I was, you know, elementary school, junior high school, I would have been able to never need Adderall or Ritalin. But I ended up taking that for so long because I got a diagnosis from a doctor, and that kind of puts a little bit of a thought process in your brain that you're broken and you need the medication, when in all reality, it's because my diet was basically so terrible throughout the majority of my life that I was never able to get in a ketogenic state of mind. And once I started experimenting with these diets, the weight loss was just an awesome byproduct. I was able to get my body back. I was able to get, you know, ripped and lean and all that stuff. But the main thing was it completely changed how my brain worked. And from there, I was like, okay, there is something to the food that we're eating. Food is medicine, 100%. There's something to the food that we're eating. And the processed food that the majority of are eating, that the majority of the U.S. are eating, is essentially slowly killing us. And if we go back to a little bit more of a whole foods, ancestral-based approach, protein, meat-based approach, we can reverse a lot of these issues that we're, quote unquote, diagnosed with, whatever those issues is, and we have the ability to heal ourselves and be an optimal human being. So now what I do is I interview a lot of these experts, doctors, trainers, athletes, coaches in these different low carb areas to gain their perspectives on why they think carnivore is best, why they think low carb is best, why they think ketogenic might be best, why they do fasting, and why they recommend these different variations to their client base, because I feel like all these different variations have room in this space. They're all tools, right? That's how I look at these diets. They're all tools that we can leverage throughout the course of our life to continue to be optimal and progress in the way that we want to progress, as well as from an athletic standpoint, feed what we're ultimately trying to accomplish. Are we into high rocks? Are we into CrossFit? Are we into weightlifting? Are we into running? Are we into half marathons, right? You use different tools for different diets and different tools for different outcomes based off what you're training and what your goals are. So maybe I thought I would pause here and see if anyone had any questions on any of that stuff.
How young are you?
I'm 41 years young.
Okay.
Just turned 41 in January.
The suffering is just beginning.
Yeah.
At 41.
Yeah. There's a lot of suffering to come. I know that.
Damn dopamine. Damn dopamine.
Damn it to hell.
Damn dopamine.
If you have any questions, if you have any questions for Max, please put them in the chat. Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Kiltz.
Why do we focus on protein when fat is actually the master of the mission, not protein?
Well, this is a great topic because I've had you, Mr. Kiltz, on the podcast, and I've had a lot of your colleagues on the podcast too. Everyone from Dave Feldman to Brian Sanders to Sean Baker to Anthony Chafee. There are different thoughts, even Richard Smith. I know you know Richard Smith. We talked about you on
I don't know Richard Smith. Damn him.
Here's what I think is interesting. If I'm interviewing Richard Smith, he would say the opposite, right? He would say protein is the number one key macronutrient. You say fat is the number one key macronutrient. I'm not here to disagree with anyone. What I'm doing with my podcast is I'm gaining the perspectives of a lot of these individuals so they can share those perspectives. Now, I think what you do, though, is you leverage different carnivore variations for different things. That's what now I have come to believe. If you have body composition goals, if you have muscle building goals, there needs to be the building blocks available. You need to have the amino acid profile available in order to attain those goals, whether it's putting on muscle, gaining strength, increasing your lean mass, lowering your fat mass. Now, I know, Kiltz, I know you disagree with this 100%, and that's okay. That's why these conversations are really, really beneficial. But that's what Richard Smith will argue. And I know from having you on the podcast, you were honestly one of my most watched episodes. You gave me some great clips, by the way. Social media blew up. So you're fantastic. You got great energy. I love you. But you would argue the fat is the most important macronutrient, and the fat is what you need to essentially utilize a lot of those building blocks, even if you do have muscle building, protein building goals. Now, yeah, hold that steak up. Hold that steak up. What is that? Is that a tomahawk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the. I don't know if you see the. Oh, here.
Beautiful. Where's it from? Is that from Wegmans?
Wegmans.
Yeah.
This is a USDA Prime. It's a beautiful, beautiful steak, and this is the master's meal.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And it's a beautiful thing, and this is what we're most people eat filet, chicken, fish, turkey. They cut the fat away.
Yeah.
And they serve us lean meat because now protein. Oh, protein is the thing you need. So we went from sugar to protein because nobody cares about fat, because anti-fat is the biggest money-making thing ever created.
I don't disagree with you. The anti-fat movement, the low-fat movement was horrific. But if you hold that steak up one more time. It looks like to me there's a lot of meat. Now that's got some good marbling in there, but it's got some good fat around a lot of protein.
It's already been cut. So remember, there is no such thing as protein in a meal. You either eat animals or plants. Every cell of every organism contains fats, sugars, and proteins. So again, the protein-centric world is beautiful because the raisers of the meat, they don't care, because they're just going to, everyone, eat your protein, eat your protein. It's the next new disease problem because so many people in the carnivore world are on GLP-1s to get skinny in order to show off. Why do they want to do that?
I couldn't tell you why, but...
Well, it's simple, to get noticed. Wow, you look so good. Let me touch you. Reproduction is the only mission of the universe. And we will be out here and spew our truth when in fact it's not. But again, I'm giving you, of course, my opinion, but protein poisoning is real. And a low-fat, animal fat diet, high protein, is not healthy in the long term. Short term, okay, I want to look like this, right? Adonis. That's why, because you said it, you got noticed.
Oh, when I was younger?
Yes.
You found that very young.
Well, when I found out very young, but what I really found out was just by like working out and eating healthier, that like, yes, the opposite sex started to notice you. That's when my light bulb went off. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, health and fitness is like a lifelong thing I need to pursue no matter what. But here's what I would go say about the protein piece. So I feel like you can go through these periods throughout the year where you're eating cyclically or periodically going through periods of higher protein and lower protein based off what it is you're trying to accomplish. We all have individual goals, whether we're working out or training for something. We've got hobbies that we've got to fuel, right? And yes, your hobby might be taking pictures and posting them on Instagram and making sure you're looking good. Is that maybe the healthiest thing? No. But I feel like if you were to leverage a higher protein approach, going back to what you were saying about the GLP-1 thing, protein is the satiating macronutrient, in my opinion. Fat is the satisfying one, right? If you have high protein...
Say that again.
Protein is the satiating macronutrient. Fat is the satisfying one, right? So protein, here's just my 2 cents from whom I'm interviewing. If you have body composition goals, right, where you're maybe trying to increase your lean mass and drop your fat mass. I'm not talking about losing weight. I'm talking about changing the distribution of muscle mass and fat. If you have a higher amount of protein coming in through the diet, you're going to be satiated. It's going to almost act as a GLP-1 would, which would mean to lower the hunger signals just a little bit. If you have enough protein coming in, it's going to help you feel full, and it's going to help you last longer from meal to meal without needing to snack. It can also help with muscle building goals. Now, I know you're probably going to 100% disagree with me and say that is what's necessary, but I would also say there's a whole bunch of other individuals I've out there that I've also interviewed that would completely say the opposite.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
And I do understand where you're coming from. Obviously, you have heard all the opinions, the high protein, low. Within even carnivore, high protein, low fat. But you talked about the different goals that people have.
Sure.
As a physician and personally, my interest is which one gets me healthier and which one reverses all the long list of problems that our doctors tell us.
Sure.
Which one is, and I think you know where I'm going, because I think the high fat is the most healing.
Sure, I wouldn't disagree. But would you agree that, would you maybe agree or disagree, I don't know yet, that a high fat carnivore diet, this is just my 2 cents, and you guys are 100% going to disagree with this. Like I said earlier, I look at a lot of these diets are tools. And here's a great example, okay? I was going through, after the holidays, I got off my diet, okay? I fell off my diet. I ate a whole bunch of things that I don't normally eat. And I gave myself a horrific bout of intestinal distress, okay? Where every time I ate, I actually had to I ended up having diarrhea. So, and I had that going on for about a month. And do you know what I did? I was like, okay, I'm going to use a tool called the carnivore diet. I went back on carnivore for about 2 weeks. Diarrhea cleaned up in a matter of days. I did that diet for about 2.5, 3 weeks. And now I'm starting to introduce other things. So here's kind of my point in saying this. I feel like you can go on a high fat diet for a period of time to heal, whether it's intestinal issues, autoimmune issues, whatever the case is. You might have to do a diet for a specific period of time in order to heal all those elements. What I don't think is necessary is to do that diet for an extended period of time, because your body will naturally change and evolve. Like after you heal a lot of your gut issues, you can then start to change the macronutrients, right? If you want to bring the protein up because you've got body composition goals you're now interested in attaining, you can bring the protein up. I'm not saying drop the fat. I'm saying keep the fat, but also you want to be aware of where your protein is at, especially if you have body composition goals. So what I'm basically saying here is you can use a lot of these different carnivore variations, high fat, low fat, as tools. I just don't necessarily think we need to do them for an extended period of time, but I do think carnivore can be the base of what you eat. Like the base of what I eat is mainly meat, and it's very little other things, very little plants, very little vegetables. That's just my 2 cents. But you got to do whatever works best for you. That's the main thing.
Wait, Dr. Nelson, let me ask a quick question. Max, this is great, by the way, and thank you for being here. Yeah. You're amazing. We really love your energy. Dr. Nelson, when you went to medical school and learned the science of the human body versus veterinarian school, did they say that there were infinite human beings that all had different needs? Or did they say, here's the human animal, and I want you to learn about it and go out there and practice for the human animal, not for the individual, unique, what do we call it? What's the phrase and word I'm thinking about? Maybe someone can help me here, right? We're all unique and individuals, are we?
Different genetic, from a genetic standpoint, maybe. I mean, yeah.
Are the genes? Go ahead, Doc.
We're all built with
we have 99% the same genes. Yeah. And maybe 1% or less different between you and me. And yeah, they teach us one anatomy. They don't teach us, the exceptions are taught so you recognize them, but they teach us everybody's basically the same. A male is a male, a female is a female,
Sure.
and there are different organs inside in the sexes, but otherwise, everything else works pretty much the same.
Now, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay, so you're 41 years young.
41 years young.
Best thing ever happened to me was at 41. No, it's second best. Well, there's several best, but I was fired from a job. Yeah. Failure, right? But this is a fat phobic world. And our phobias drive everything about us. We make more money on the anti-fat world than anything.
I don't disagree.
And so no other animal wants to be skinny. None, zero. They get fucked all day long when they're fat. And so do fat people today, by the way. Sorry for my language. I don't know if we might delete that.
We are live, Dr. Kiltz.
Okay, we are here. We want to love and honor our brothers and sisters, and reproduction is the most important thing. And ultimately, that's why we're here. Well, that's why we do the work you're doing, I'm doing. We're all doing the same thing.
It's interesting. We're the only species on planet Earth that cares about what we look like.
Oh, no. No.
Oh, you don't think so?
All of them do. Why do you think a flower makes itself so beautiful and smells so nice?
No.
All organisms, all microbes, macrobes have one purpose.
I might have misspoke there. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. That's why roosters peacock, or that's why peacocks show their feathers. Yeah, 100%. I totally get you.
That's why Mitch smokes cigars and is online telling us the miseries of the world.
What I was going to say was we're the only species that really cares about our weight. Going back to what you were saying, a bear wants to be fat, right? They want to, the larger, the bigger they are, typically the more healthier they look to the opposite sex. We're the only ones that really, human beings are the only ones that really care about and obsess about like a number on a scale or what we look like from a composition standpoint, I would say. Like a bear doesn't care about how much weight he's putting on or losing through hibernation. Would you agree or disagree?
It cares. Remember, all life has the single same function. We think we're better or different. We're the idiots that want to get on a rocket ship and go to Mars. But you know, this is the part of the conversation. Yeah. It was all like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, cool. Like that is not reproduction, right? Yes. It's and this is the part. It is about the opposites, the stress and the struggles and the disagreements. Because without it, no babies.
No, I 100%. Like numero uno is procreation. That's what every species wants to do.
And if your partner had no fat, muscle only, okay? Now we know what a muscle builder that gets jacked for the show, is that a reproductive organism?
Probably not. A lot of times their hormones are tanked. So,
but again, if there's only muscle and no fat, right? If you really saw a human being not jacked and taking hormones to show up on stage, right? And they have no fat on their body, is that a healthy human being?
No, it's not. In a lot of cases that they are not. But they
not
in
a lot of cases.
They would
not in a
also
lot of
agree
cases.
With you. They would also agree.
All cases.
Yeah.
All cases.
Well, okay. Especially for the females that are losing their periods because their hormones are tanked. Like they would agree with you. Most people that step on stage and compete at the point in which they're stepping on stage, they're not at a healthy point. That's a fact. 100%.
Right. And so ultimately, women are getting fat added to parts of their body and taken away because remember, you want this. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we look at. Damn, I hate my dopamine. Right? I mean, that's the driving force for all of us. So, and you could highlight some cues in here, Dr. Nelson, if you see some. I know there's some there.
Well, the first question is for you. I'll take them in orders. Chuck asks, Dr. Kiltz, we know you don't believe in numbers, but your staff have wanted you to test. How are you feeling? Any news on the CAC score? You haven't had another one, right? And are you still taking the energy bits?
I take my energy bits from time to time, like I take everything else from time to time, but not all the time. I got a beautiful card from my good friend, Ashley. Energy bits, by the way. I love it. And
what are those? What are those, Dr. Kiltz?
They're Dr. Chlorella and algae. I mean, it's algae.
Ah.
And I get my, again, I don't know which is the thing that makes me better, but I take them all.
Okay.
And I'm working better, but look, we're in a community together, are we not? I'm not here to chastise anyone's products, right? We're here to bring them all together and work together. Okay, I take my supplements and my CAC score. It was fun. Do I sit and worry about it? One of my colleagues, Wendell, 65-ish, went to the doctor for a month to try to figure out what was wrong with him. Everything they said was normal. In the emergency, he dropped dead the other day. And Wendell is our master teacher every day, because what do you know about medicine's ability to predict when and how you're going to die?
That's a question for you, Max.
Oh, is that a question for me? I'm sorry. Say that again, Dr. Kiltz.
I mean, what do we know about modern medicine's ability in any of this testing to predict when and how you're going to die?
I would probably say we don't know a lot. I mean, a lot of the medicine out there, in my opinion, it's to treat a symptom, not a root cause. That's just my
right. But ultimately, medicine and science has a purpose that they believe is right.
Sure. Yes.
And that's the same area of us. We believe in what we believe in. We're going to do everything to prove it, right? Plant-based world, animal-based world, everything in between, and the science. And we're here because it gets us likes and subscribers, and people show up and things like that, because I like to have friends. I don't want to do this all alone, and my friends disagree with me or agree with me, or they listen and they turn it off. I don't know, but that's the fun part of this, right? Because again, if we all just agreed, oh shit, it'd be boring as shit. When Mitch is like, oh, Kiltz, you're ridiculous, and turns me off, and then we show up and we hang a cigar together, or Brother Rich or Papa or George or all of us. But we're entertainment. And then each and every every individual is going to find it, kind of play in the mud and the sand, and find their own freedom in their story, I think.
And well, that's what kind of maybe even brings me back to the point about all these different carnivore variations you can leverage, ketogenic diet variations, low carb variations. You got to find what works for you. I know we were saying earlier that from a building block standpoint, we're all born with the same engine, the same tools, right? The same organs, all that type of stuff. But I would also say on the flip side of that point, a lot of us are born with a lot of different issues, right? There's people with different autoimmune issues. I can't tell you how many different autoimmune issues that there are. There's some, like if you look at someone like Michaela Peterson and all of the things that she has dealt with, like, yeah, she's got the same engine that I might be built with, or another female might be built with, but she has a completely different series of issues that she needs to be on a specific diet for in order to heal.
Dr. Kiltz, does it all boil down to the same cause? Probably.
It's all, look at, we're all expressing our belief that it's different, but it's not. It's all the same. But we are unique and different in our expression, our belief systems, but ultimately, inflammation and damage but that's natural and normal. You cannot, I mean, I am going to die 30 years from now, plus or minus 30 years. It's kind of a good, right? And what am I going to die from? Only one thing actually causes death. And it's the leading cause of, it's a cause of, your heart stops.
Sure.
Right? That's it. But that's the beauty. I mean, essentially inflammation damages every cell of our body. And we in medicine and science kind of label it all these different things. But it's not. It's the same thing. All the same thing.
All right. Have a question here from this guy. And I guess the question is for Max. What have you learned on your journey?
That's a good question. Well, I can definitely tell you what I've learned from the podcast. And it's basically going to be the opposite of what Dr. Kiltz was saying. But what I basically learned is I think there are multiple routes to the same destination. I think there can be multiple different routes to the same destination. Okay. And, you know, the podcast has really taught me to sit back and take in the views, the concepts, and the perspectives of other individuals. Some of it I agree with, some of it I don't agree with, and that's okay. But I use the podcast as a platform to allow these individuals to explain their views and perspectives. And what I do is I take little nuggets from that. If things make sense to me, I will massage some of those elements into my life best as how I see fit. But I think what's really beautiful about this space, right? Whether you're on a low carb diet and you got some vegetables in there, whether you're on a high fat carnivore diet and you're eating tons of fat like Dr. Kiltz, or whether you choose to go higher protein because maybe you got different goals and things that you're into, I think there are multiple routes to the same destination. And another thing that I've learned is you've got to be willing to experiment with your diet, okay? And I think people like to get very comfortable, like, hey, I'm going to eat carnivore. This is how I'm going to eat. And sometimes you might get to a point where you have to slightly change the diet, try some things, try some new things. It's okay to experiment with different forms of diet if you're running into issues, whether it's hormonal issues, autoimmune issues, things aren't working well for you digestively. You might have to switch some shit up, right? And again, I think there are multiple routes to the same destination, but the big thing here is you have to be very comfortable experimenting and make what you put in your mouth, right? What you put in your mouth, what you ingest into your body is numero uno, because I truly believe food is medicine. And so if you make understanding food and diet and all these different things, if you make that a hobby and you make it like part of an interest, then you can move the needle forward, whether it's healing autoimmune, losing weight, whatever like making your blood markers better. You can move the needle in the direction that you want it to move, but you always have to experiment with your diet. And that's, I think, the main thing that I've learned.
All right. Let's take next question. And this is for you. Rocking Coach Amy, and she's always rocking. Do you think a high-fat version of keto carnivore helped open your brain and heal your ADD, or was it high protein?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I really think, it wasn't necessarily how high the fat or high the protein was. It was the carbohydrates that were coming into my body, right? The amount of carbohydrates and processed food I was eating at the time, and a lot of other bad habits. Like when I got back into the corporate world, I was drinking beer on a regular basis, like alcohol, like all those things are obviously terrible. It was
where does beer come from?
Beer comes from plants, yeast or whatever, right?
Where does alcohol come from?
It's fermented. It's a fermentation process.
From
Well, it depends, right? You can ferment just about, you can ferment an agave plant, make tequila, right? Can't you ferment a potato, make vodka? Like plants.
So plants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but for me, it was lowering the carbohydrates. I think at the time, I was doing 1 meal a day. When I felt my best, I was doing 1 meal a day, burger patties. That was like my go-to. Lots of ground beef, higher fat. There was protein in there, right? But I think it was the elimination of carbohydrates that really allowed me to get into a ketogenic state of mind. That is, and also the elimination of just all processed foods. Just going to a single ingredient, whole foods based approach, I think that's what everyone needs to do. But it was the elimination of carbohydrates for sure that allowed me to get into a keto state of mind where I realized if I would have found this earlier, I would have never needed to take Adderall or Ritalin for as long as I did. I just didn't know the diets existed. I just didn't know that form of eating and living was a thing, you know?
Chuck asked, are your workouts cardio or weights? Both.
So I'm a big, if you go to my Instagram, I'm a big workout guy. I work out about 6 days a week. It's not just about like looking good. As Dr. Kiltz would probably say, I don't do it for the Instagram. Working out 100% is my therapy. And so I do 3 workouts a week where I'm doing cardiovascular training or getting my heart rate up, running short, medium, and long distances, playing around with those different variations. And then 3 days a week, I'm lifting weights and doing strength training and bodybuilding. So I've got a mix of both. I'm not necessarily trying to be like a hybrid athlete, but that is the type of training I gravitate towards because I want to have a strong heart and I want to have a strong muscle, and I mix them together. And I work out about an hour a day. I got a home gym built out in my garage. Kiltz, it looks like you want to say something.
I'm listening. But it will look at the beauty is we're all sharing stories in our daily evolution of understanding the story.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, we are lions. No other animal looks for protein. There actually, protein does not exist except in petri dish science. When we use the word protein, you mean you're looking for lean muscle meat, correct? Would you agree that lean muscle meat is protein?
Sure. I mean, there's protein in chicken. There's protein in that tomahawk steak you just held up earlier.
Right. But is chicken lean muscle meat?
Yes.
Okay. And so is filet lean muscle meat?
Yes.
Okay. And can you buy lean muscle meat in a ribeye? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Okay. And most of the time they cut most of it off anyway. So ultimately, even when we use the word carbohydrates, these are only processed products from our modern food world. But if you were to choose what to eat, would the healthiest thing be the plant world or the animal world?
Oh, it's the animal world for sure.
Okay, would it be lean meat as your primary meal, or would it be fatty meat as your primary meal?
I would say I would want a combination of the both. You
got to pick one. You got to pick one because again, the primary meal of a lion. Again, I'm giving you a simple task. Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Okay. You pick one. You're going to live off one of these. Which one is it? Is it going to be?
If I have to live,
you are living. Okay.
If I had,
I
would choose the fattier cut.
There you go. Just keep it simple, please.
Sure.
Just look it. Oh
yeah.
Uh-oh. Did I say? Is that me? Okay. Look it.
For survival purposes, I would choose the fattier cut.
All right. Look it. We are teachers. We are helping our brothers. I suffered ADHD, OCD, depression, all those things as a little kid, migraines. The beauty is they didn't have the drugs yet. All right. So what I'm saying is you have a choice. You're going to be either an animal eater or a plant eater or both. I'll give you both, all right? But which one of these, what toxins does this contain?
I have no idea. Whatever toxins that animal ate.
But in general, look, we're scientists, are we not? How many people have you heard? Oh, how many people have you heard have a toxic anaphylactic reaction to a ribeye steak? You personally.
Not a lot, very few.
No, you personally have heard someone was hospitalized anaphylactic with a ribeye steak eating. Name them. What's their name?
I don't know. No, but what I'm saying
is, you have no one you know of.
You're right.
You hear stories of people saying,
like they get bit by a tick or something, and then they get allergic to red meat.
Do you know anyone that?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. Look, this is so simple. Your Honor, the witness is being defensive and not answering the question. You're out of order. You're out of order.
I'm answering the question.
Okay, but look at, we have the most amazing community, and I am really grateful that Max Helmer is here, by the way, because he's sharing the same thing we're all sharing. What animal seeks lean meat? And do you know about protein poisoning? Have you ever heard of it?
I have heard of protein poisoning mainly from you.
Right, but rabbit starvation. So have you read the list of symptoms? Nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, depression, protein poisoning. Do you know of anyone that suffers those things?
To be honest with you, I don't.
Well, but they're common symptoms that people have in this world, correct?
Oh, so you're saying
depression, anxiety.
Yeah, so you're saying like a high protein diet can actually be causing our depression, anxiety.
100%, because it's missing the single most important macronutrient, which is adipose tissue. Now, again, I want to lean down, go at it, because you want to lower the fat to lower the caloric input in order to lean down and show the muscles that are even in the fat people. That's it. So I'm just, I agree with you 100%. I've been there. I am there. Okay, do I have some French fries sometimes? Damn right I do.
Yeah.
And ice cream. Damn right I do.
Yeah.
I don't shy away from these things from time to time, but on my daily habit, what do I eat?
Yeah, I hear you. And I do the same, but I incorporate lean meat and fat meat together. I eat them all. A lot of variation and sustainability for the long run.
No doubt about it. But you are not protein deficient. Nobody is. Nobody's protein deficient. That's not our problem. Our problem is poisoned by plants, proteins, low-fat diet. I see I have these pictures here. One of my good friends, Dave Kilmer, died of cancer 52. He was always working to be healthy, skinny, lean. All right. Jim Slotnick, glioblastoma, age 28. All right. And again, we're here taking care of sick people and the why part of it, which we don't really know. But the protein-centric and plant-centric world, in my opinion, is part of our problem. It's fat. Fat is to be honored. That's kind of like my again, here's a shot, a pill, a surgery to get rid of the fat, when if you simply go carnivore, the fat goes away. The excess fat goes away.
And again, Dr. Kiltz, this is where I'm coming from. We leverage different diets for different things. So I'm interviewing, coming on the podcast in March, I'm interviewing Professor Thomas Seyfried, right? And he's going to be coming on talking about most likely a ketogenic diet and how they're using ketogenic diets for tumor reduction, cancer. That 100% makes sense for me. What is a ketogenic diet? It's a high fat, moderate protein or lower protein, zero carb diet, right? So you can use different, like if I was diagnosed with cancer, I would incorporate a series of long-term fasting and a ketogenic diet. I would go on an ultra high fat diet. That's exactly what I would do. But right now I don't have cancer. So
they were diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, I know.
And remember what I'm saying, you don't have cancer right now.
Yeah.
But my theory here, now
is
nobody
you think a higher protein diet, you think what you're saying is you think a higher protein diet could potentially lead to
yes, because
diagnosis.
when you say high protein, you automatically mean low fat.
I don't necessarily mean I can have
no. Again, I'm just okay. When you do a high protein diet in general, it is a low fat diet. That's the kind of amazing story here. Again, it's radical. Remember, there's never a zero carbohydrate diet because carbohydrates are in all cells of all organisms. So what you're saying is you eat a low to no plant diet or a low to no animal diet, but there's never a zero fat, zero protein, or zero carb diet. That's an impossibility. Because if you understand the science of the glycocalyx, of the membranes of every cell, so ultimately that's the magic of this story. Dr. Seifert and I love him. We've talked, and I agree with you. But Mike, it's like Wendell, who just died, and we couldn't figure it out. And Dave, who died, they didn't know that they were going to get cancer. And maybe tomorrow I'll read an excerpt from Jim Slotnick's book, A Short Life, who he wrote while he was cancer-ridden and died the day after he finished the book at age 28. Wow. And so our job as scientists or storytellers is, I don't know which one's going to get you cancer. Nobody does.
Yeah.
That's the mystery. All right. Plants don't cause cancer. Animals don't cause cancer. Inflammation causes cancer. The challenge is which one and why. Don't know that answer. But I would bet that a raw animal fat diet is the healthiest diet for humanity. But that's not our environment. That's not what we eat. That's not what we go out and we explore, we connect together. Yeah. I agree with you.
I don't disagree. And I think there's a bunch of different diets, like a lot of different things. A lot of different things can trigger that cancer gene. Could be environmental. Like my sister-in-law. It's
not a cancer gene. Well, it's not a cancer gene. There's no cancer gene. Keep going. I'm just throwing my shit.
So my dad died. My dad died of lung cancer early. I took care of him when I was in my mid-20s. He passed away. And then a year later, my sister-in-law passed away. She was 20 years old. She got ovarian cancer. Now, when I think about her, right, I don't even know what caused it. I think there was something a little bit more genetic to that.
No, same thing. Exactly. We're all genetically predisposed to the top 20 diseases, all of us.
But I don't know what triggered the tumor growth in her.
It's plant goitrogens. They're tumor genes. Look up goitrers, look up goitrogens, look at tumor genes. Lectins, oxalates, phytates, plus the microbes that ferment in the gut. They're the cause of the disease. And my sister died. My grandmother died of cancer. Again, we're all going to die. We're going to die of all these same diseases, no matter, even if you're a full-on carnivore.
Thank you, Max, for being here.
Sure.
We have to go in a few seconds. Esparza87, please email Alia at drkiltz.com to claim your prize. If you don't send that email, you won't get it. Okay.
Can I say something real quick before
you have about literally 15 seconds before I.
If there was any questions you guys didn't get to ask me, you can DM me at the Low Carb Consultant on Instagram.
Low Carb Consultant Instagram. Max Helmer's awesome guy, by the way, and we're all sharing stories. Thank you, Max, for being here, and everyone for being here today. Let's continue to share the message and have a conversation and do the dance of life.
Have a great day, everyone.
Take care, everybody.